Welcome back to the county seat. We have been spending our special hour today talking about the issue of wilderness, its pros and cons, and the impacts it has on all of us. You know, there are a lot of reasons to declare wilderness. One of them is for an isolated recreational experience, legitimate use. Another, protecting watersheds. The lists go on and on, even as simple as allowing future generations to have a section of land that they may be able to make the decision on what to do with it in the future. These are all things that have been discussed. As we wind down our discussion, though, we start looking at some of the possible ways to deal with the problem. Like it or not, wilderness is a part of the law and of our landscape. So where do we go from here?
Well, it's a big political discussion. Everybody's involved. All the environmental groups have got their needs. Counties, of course, local government in Utah's got its say. I think we proceed with the local government. It seems to be the one that's working, bring it up from the local level. Wilderness Society seems interested in having set-asides wilderness that also benefits local communities.
We should all care about these places, not just care about the public lands that we find special, but care about the surrounding communities. We want them to be viable.
I personally do not believe that it is the economy against the environment or the environment against the economy. It is finding the balance between the economy and the environment. And I believe that here in Utah, we can find that balance.
Several ideas have been put forward to try to find that balance. One currently moving across Utah is the county-by-county land use plan. This is where local leaders take control to find solutions for their individual needs at a local level.
The number one thing a county brings is local knowledge of the area. Nobody knows the lands like the local county. They know who is playing in their backyard. They know what uses are appropriate and what uses aren't. A county is more likely to devise a wilderness boundary that's completely manageable because they know the land so well.
Not every county is created equal. Not every wilderness area is created equal. And therefore these discussions, years ago I was involved in many statewide efforts to try to resolve this on a bigger level. And those proved simply to not work. This can't be a political fight. This can't be just done in Washington without involvement. Yes, these are public lands and national public voices need to be heard, but local voices also need to be heard. We need to bring both of those together and try to find solutions. It has been done in other states. We did do it in Utah once. We ought to be able to do it again.
Washington County did successfully pass a permanent land bill to define their boundaries, and several other counties are currently working on similar bills. Yet another concept is the concept of zoning, where wilderness areas are buffered by zones that surround them that allow steadily increasing levels of activity and development until you reach areas that are fully exploitable at the opposite end of the spectrum, so that there's an equal amount of open access land for full development balanced with land preserved as wilderness. It's very similar to local planning and zoning.
There's many ways we can deal with how to preserve some of that open space, whether it's for recreation or for watershed. There's different levels we can have. We can do it with zoning, we can do it with wilderness designations. So there's a whole various scope of parameters that we can look at, and that's what we want to have in our toolkit, is those different possibilities.
State leaders and local residents would then be able to choose which lands would be best for recreation, mineral extraction, and wilderness, and use each accordingly without enormous tracts being dedicated to one purpose or the other. As you moved closer to a wilderness area, activity would become increasingly limited. A backcountry or primitive designation would meet the BLM's multiple use mandate while satisfying the need to protect, explore, and develop resources. One of the schools of thought developing right now is one where you would take more specific designations of land use other than just general wilderness. As an example, if you're trying to protect watershed and you declare an area a wilderness area, that doesn't necessarily put restrictions on dogs and horses riding in your watershed. A more specific designation may allow for limited motorized access, different kinds of developed recreation, but still protect the watershed. If you're looking at animal habitat, where grazing competes with an endangered species, wilderness may not be the best designation.
Now, it doesn't do a best job necessary, so it's not going to protect the ecological functions for the desert tortoise, for example, in southern Utah and in other places where they're found. Wilderness hasn't helped there, so it's not everything. It doesn't do everything that it should.
Instead of a wilderness designation, you may want to make a specific designation in protection of that species, so that livestock does not come in and compete with the forage. That again would be a special designation that would allow other uses that's restricted in the general wilderness category. Another plan involves the concept of dynamic land management. This sets aside not specific acres, but percentages of acreage that are to be managed as wilderness or roadless, and using modern rehabilitation techniques to make sure that at any given time in our future, a certain percentage of land will be roadless and primitive and pristine. But at any given time, land planning may change and swap acre for acre for new areas to be rehabilitated as wild and others to be developed. And that would result in land being able to be used to its maximum potential at the time and point in history that it's needed.
It allows for the ingenuity of man to be used in protecting these, but yet also get the resources that are there that we should be using.
We need to all agree that we can work together to bring the natural ecosystem function back to the lands and have a productive, symbiotic relationship between humans and the landscape. Until the environmentalists, agree to that the hand of man is okay, that we can manipulate the lands, I think we're going to see more catastrophic wildfires and more actual destruction of land.
There can be places in Utah where we can focus more of our energy on, and we can actually use financial incentives with either companies or other institutions to help us really look at those places by allowing some development in other places. So I believe that concept does have its place.
The question that presents itself in any of these scenarios is who will best serve the interests of the people, national or local government. This is a bitter controversy.
Imagine a place where the world's largest concentration of scenic attractions can be found, where radiant cliffs of 2 national parks and 3 state parks tower to kiss the azure sky. Come and visit any one of the many memorable sites and events that Bryce Canyon Country, Garfield County, Utah has to offer. Drive along National Scenic Byway 143 and All-American Road Highway 12 and experience the ultimate adventure.
How would you spend an extra day in Utah Valley? Stay one more day. Visit utahvalley.com to make reservations. Utah Valley. Bring everyone together.
What is play? Is it culture? Is it adventure? Is it...
Ooh, it's a destination.
Oh, yeah, that's right.
That's correct.
Cedar City and Bryan Head Resort in the heart of Iron County, where outdoor excitement, culture, and the iron industry melt together. Come and forge a new adventure where play is the thing. You haven't forgotten how to play. It's just that you haven't been to the right place yet. Native Americans called it the land of the sleeping rainbow. It's a place of unparalleled enchantment, where history, splendor, and industry meet. We call it Sevier County. Experience the Paiute Trail by ATV. Explore 7 national parks, all within a few hours' drive. Gaze down at the world from an entirely new perspective. Join us in Sevier County and discover real Utah. Come, explore the Paiute Trail and beyond.